What's going on, guys? So after 4 years on YouTube, I've reviewed and used so many pieces of gear that really inspired me, and some that totally made me wish that I didn't buy them at all. So I wanted to share my top 3 most value for money synths that I've used over all these years. And this is not a list of my favorite 3, but really a measure of price to performance for me personally. Really quickly, guys, this video is sponsored by the people over at Serato, and Serato Studio is an amazing DAW that lets you get to making beats with simply a laptop. And you know how I know this? It's because I'm making beats on my 6-year-old iMac that's almost dead, and I haven't had any problems. So you don't need much to get up and running. You can download more sample packs on their website and make great sounding beats in as little as 5 minutes. Serato can be the ultimate DAW for making beats, so why not try it out for free? Anyways, thank you, Serato, for helping me continue to bring you guys free content. Sponsor offer. So in my opinion, not all gear is worth the money. And how I know this is, and let me remind you, every synth I've reviewed on this channel has been paid for by me, except the Nordrum 3P and the Sequential Rev 2, and those were both loaner units. So every time I review a piece of gear, my own money is on the line, just like you guys who would buy it at home. And I don't want to feel like I'm getting screwed. So looking back, there have been a couple that just didn't seem worth even a low asking price, and some that totally stood out as something that I'd have paid more money for. So enough of that, let's get into the list. So number 3, the Korg Volca FM. And yes, I love FM synthesis, and I don't think there's a better way to get into it than with the Korg Volca FM. When I think back about synths that I've had the most fun learning about, playing with, and just feeling like it was a unique piece, it's really the Korg Volca FM. I think when people see the 3 voices and the small form factor, they think toy. And while it totally is, there isn't actually a synth that I felt I could grow with and use on so many levels like the Volca FM. Companies keep giving us subtractive after subtractive after subtractive synth, and honestly, it's fatiguing. FM synthesis isn't for everyone, but for me, 3 voices is more than enough for shell chords that I need. Plus, I found that the presets on the Volca FM are some of my favorites straight out of the box. I may go as far as saying the FM sound engine Korg uses is some of the more pleasingly cold tones I've heard in a synth in or out of the box. Plus, add to that the tremendously useful Synthmata, a browser-based patch editor for the Volca FM, made by my friend Oscillator Sync. Check out his page, link in the description. At literally $150 new, or probably like $100 used, no one could ever convince me that there isn't a better value in the Volca range than the FM. So number 2, the Arturia Microfreak. And yes, this is the synth that I poo-pooed for the touch plate, but then went on to become one of my most inspirational instruments I've ever used on the channel. When I bought the Microfreak, I was honestly skeptical about the whole premise of the device. I knew I wanted a traditional key bed, but after a small amount of time, I realized that the touch plate was what it really needed to flesh out its iconic look and playability. While I have my gripes with some of the design choices, I realized it was totally necessary. A 4-voice polyphonic synthesizer with over a dozen synth engines, a real analog state variable filter, a awesome mod matrix and sequencer, and yes, with 64 freaking steps, take that Korg everything. Shame on you, Korg. A capacitive touch strip and CV connectivity. I mean, on paper, it literally is just that good, but when you play it, when you experience it, it's literally better than this. I said the Microfreak was like my choice for the best synth under $500 released in the last decade, I think, and I stick to that. Coming in at literally $300 new, and I've even seen it as low as $250 at some places. You have to be kidding that it is not worth every penny. And sure, I still don't love the touch plate for my personal use case, but once they made the vocoder edition, all was forgiven. And number 1, the Roland JDXI. Now, this may come as a surprise to some of you guys, but the Roland JDXI is the it is the workstation in a synthesizer's clothing that I've ever used. The form factor honestly deceives almost every person that I suggest this to. They assume that this is just some weak mono synth with mini keys made in the time before Roland really got its ish together synth-wise, and yeah, I mean, they're kind of right, but let me lay out what is in here. It's a 4-part instrument with a 4-track sequencer, You literally have a fully analog synth engine in here with analog oscillators and filter, a digital synth with up to 64 voices of polyphony, a whole bunch of really good sounding drums, and a bunch of decent effects. And yo, this thing also has a vocoder and auto-tune, and it comes with a gooseneck microphone. So if I was starting out all over again and had to pick one synth to start all over with again, it would be the JDXI. With an analog synth voice, the full supernatural engine of sounds, I could go so much further in less time than maybe 3 or 4 individual instruments costing much more. And did I mention that you can download more sound libraries to your JDXI, so it's expandable and they are free. The Roland JDXI to me has a crap menu system, and the way that they describe it on their website is kind of trash, but it's such a super deep synth that you almost need an entirely other interface type screen to appropriately navigate these internals. Anytime I suggest the JDXI to people, they look at me weird and they're like, yeah, okay bro, but at $500, the JDXI literally has the internals of a synth that could double in price. I bought the JDXI and never felt like it wasn't worth every single penny. It's literally a sleeping giant. All right guys, those are my top 3 best value synths that I've reviewed on the channel. And if you have some picks, let me know in the comments section. Remember to like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks again for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. 3 moist is enough to more pleasing. Add to that, it's tremendously useful. 64 freaking steps that takes Korg. And yeah, with 64 freaking steps, that Korg was like my best. Some places have you to be. Wow. 4 tracks. Jesus, what is going on? 64 voices. If you were starting out, yeah, $500 JDXI.